Our verse that went out in the course of the week was Psalm 20, verse 7. Psalm 20, verse 7. So while you're turning there as well in your Bible, some of you might know it off by heart, and it's good. So I say thank you to those of you that are here, and especially I think the music team and the worship team and the sound people for long hours on Sunday with the funeral, with us starting early in the morning and ending up late in the evening. So just thank you very much. And also to the rest of the church family as well. Everyone pitched in and helped and tried to make sure that we let everybody who came to the funeral to be comfortable and to also feel welcomed. Just thank you. Appreciate all of you that really helped. It was a lot of hard work on Sunday. So may the Lord bless you for that. As we focus our minds on prayer this evening, let's turn to Psalm 20. Psalm 20. The psalmist writes, "May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desires of your heart and make your plans succeed. We will shout for joy when you are victorious and will lift up our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord grant all our requests. Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He answers him from his holy heaven with the saving power of his right hand." Verse 7, "And some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. O Lord, save the king. Answer us when we call." When we think about trusting God in times that are extremely challenging, the question we always ask ourselves is, who do we go to or where do we go to? Now, the reason we ask those questions, who or where, if you just place yourself, for example, in a situation where you had a mechanical breakdown with your vehicle, the question is, at that point would be, where do you go? And most people will say we need to go to township spares because we know they are reputable and the price of spares is cheap. We'll be able to go there and we'll go there and we'll get what we want because they generally have a very wide selection, also in all price ranges. Someone else might ask, if you have to cook a good meal, what pots do you need to use? And some of the ladies will chip in and say, we have to use the AMC Classic pots because it gives us the best tasting food. We trust it. And similarly, you can talk about things like brands of toothpaste and soap and deodorant, clothes, cars. People tend to trust certain brands, isn't it? For some of us, even when we have a headache, we will go to a particular medication because we believe that that works the best. And it's always amazing to me that when you tell someone that I use this and it's good for me, the other will say, no, I got something else that's better. Little do we realize that, that each person kind of has that go-to. My son grew up all these years here in South Africa. He's there for such a short while in the UK, but they have got a medication there that he swears by, even before he gets a cold. In fact, he even told us we must also take it. We don't get it here. Lemsip. And as you probe that question, we then come to the serious aspect of life. We gather tonight to pray. We come together to seek God. We come to seek his face. And the psalmist makes a very profound statement in verse 7. Now, as you look at the psalm, one needs to understand the background. It's commonly referred to as a royal psalm because the psalm talks about the king and some of the military activities that he's engaging in. Verse 9 talks about the king. Lord, save the king. Answer us when we call. So possibly the king going into battle, and that seems to be the dominant theme. And the theme here is that as we go into battle, who do we trust? A reminder to the king of Israel himself that as he goes into battle, he needs to trust the Lord. Notice verse 1, may the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. Notice that the psalmist is being very specific with regard to who we need to go to. And then there's a reminder that may the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. Because we have the tendency to generally call upon God when we are in trouble, isn't it? Well, that's our nature. I mean, you think of a little child who's enjoying themselves out on the playground. They don't have a care in the world. But let them fall or someone else take their swing or their toy. They are in trouble. What will they do? Suddenly the call is for their mom or for their dad. Other than that, they are very happy to continue. And I think to a large extent, that's how we are as human beings as well. We tend to continue with life. But when we have a difficulty, then we realize we have to turn somewhere or to someone. And tonight, that's what we're going to do. We want to turn to someone. And the psalmist tells us who that someone is. The psalmist tells us that he will answer us when we are in distress, when we call upon the name of the God of Jacob, the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob and the God of Isaac, the God of promise, the God of the covenant. That's the God we call upon. But I want to transition to verse 7 and just spend 1 or 2 moments there, and then we'll split up into groups and just spend some time in prayer. We may want to put our trust in various things. And the psalmist says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Now you might ask yourself, but didn't the nation have their own horses that they would go into war with? Wouldn't they have their own chariots? Are they saying that the chariots that they had were inferior to the other people's chariots? Or the horses that the others used were stronger than theirs? No. So what's important is understanding the historical context of the time. Israel never used horses to go into war. Israel never used chariots. They believed in arm-to-arm combat because they were people of the hills. Now, you know that if you are living in hill country, that chariots will find it very difficult to navigate their way up there. And so when Israel was always moving into war or into battle, they would draw the armies away from the plains and draw them up into hill country because they were experts at using spears and swords. So when you're engaging in conflict of that nature, they had the upper hand. And so, but each time Israel would go into battle or to war, there was a level of intimidation when they saw all the various armies coming and approaching them. And here's a reminder, as the king is going to ride out of Jerusalem to face an oncoming enemy, the cry that goes up from the people that are sending him to war is telling the king, hang on, you're going to go and face this mighty army out there. They are riding strong horses, powerful animals. and they have got chariots that are able to move them at fast pace. And a reminder to the king that some of them are trusting in horses and in chariots who seem to be far superior than what we have, because we only have weapons that we are able to use with our hands. But be mindful of this, that while they put their faith in those and they trust in those things, we put our trust in the name of the Lord our God. So in other words, there's a sense of us even tonight understanding that sometimes it would appear that the enemy is moving at a faster pace or is more proficient in what he's trying to do. But remember this, that those that put their faith and their trust, absolute trust in God, have far more superior weapons at our disposal than those that are advancing at us. I'm reminded of King Jehoshaphat in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, isn't it? In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, the various armies are gathering against the nation, so against Judah. In fact, there's an alliance of about 4 or 5 different nations coming together. And he calls the prophet and he asks, so what should I do? Should I go into battle, or what must I do? And he says, and what does the prophet remind him? The prophet reminds him, no, the battle is not yours. The battle is not yours. The battle is the Lord's. The battle is not yours, the battle is the Lord's. And very often, our human tendency is that we want to engage the enemy in battle. You and I are not called to go and engage the enemy in battle. You and I are called to call upon God for God to do that for us. I'm not saying that we don't have the armor. I'm not saying that we don't have all of the devices at our means to be able to do what we need to do, but we need to be cautious. We need to be cautious. Not that we don't have power over the enemy, but the schemes of the enemy. If we are not prayed up and we're not alert, then we're not alert to what the enemy can do and will do. And ours is to do what? To trust in the God of Jacob. To trust in the God of Isaac. To trust that this God will give us that deliverance. He will come to our aid. It doesn't matter how superior or how well organized the enemy is, our God can confound and confuse the enemy. And he's done that many, many times. Just read through Scripture, time and time again. You see how God comes through for his people. Beloved, there is a battle that is raging. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, who do we turn to when that battle is raging? Do we go on and engage in the battle in our own might? Or do we know what is needed? Remember that our battles are not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of darkness in high places. We need to put on the full armor of God. We need to put on the full armor of God. We also need to be mindful of this, that no weapon formed against us shall prosper, isn't it? No weapon. That is why Solomon also reminds us in Proverbs chapter 3 and verses 5 and 6 that we need to do what? We need to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and to not lean on our own understanding. In all our ways acknowledge him and he will direct our paths. And that also implies when we are seeking victory from God, when we are seeking an opening, when we are seeking help from our God, that we trust him wholeheartedly. Some of us are trusting God right now for healing. Others who are here tonight are trusting God for our families. Some are trusting God for employment. Some are trusting God for provision. Some are trusting God to open doors that have been closed to you for a long while. Some are asking God to come through for you personally as an individual. You are at a place and a point in your life where you don't know what to do and where to go. The Bible is telling us We need to put our complete faith and our trust in God. That song, that old song, He's never failed me yet. He's never failed me yet. Jesus' blood has never failed me yet. Never. Never has and never will. Beloved, are you willing to trust this God tonight? You've come for prayer. You've come to pray, isn't it? Are you willing to trust this God? That as you seek Him tonight, that He is able to answer? Are you willing to just lay all at His feet? Sometimes we are praying for ourselves, other times we are praying for others. But whatever it is, we need to place complete faith and trust in this God. We can get involved in a number of theatrics, trying to do certain things a certain way and believe that that works. Certain gimmicks and ploys we can try and pull in the church. It happens because we think that's what makes it work. No. Basically, you can come with all your gimmicks and gags, but we'll continue to trust in the name of the Lord our God because He will make a way. Some of us trust in the Lord for our future as well, in terms of what does the future hold for us. Some of you are sitting here and you've just seen the month end, but you were finished long ago, before the month even ended. Future seems bleak or unknown to you. I like what Corrie ten Boom says. Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Is your God known? Do you know Him? Can you come to Him tonight to trust Him that He will make a way? Don't run on your own. Don't trust in yourself. Trust in the name of the Lord your God.